YouTube, what is going on? We're back with another Genshin Impact video, and today I'm back with the character that changes everything. Yo, Furina is low-key the most goated character in the game. They're probably the second or third best character if they're not number one, and so I'm going to show you why. Furina is very simple, and I'll break it down their kit in super-duper caveman terms, so that way you can see what it's about, because there is a lot of mumbo-jumbo. I mean, a lot of mumbo-jumbo, and there's numbers, and there's a lot going on here. So, let's go over it. Off rip, normal attacks don't need anything. Don't level these unless you're going for C6. If you're going for C6, then you're going to need the normals. But if you're not, leave these alone at level 1. These are strictly just normal attacks. I said normal twice. The only thing about these is that you can actually use this, depending on whether alignment you are, I'm going to call it pneumonia or whichever alignment you are. Sometimes when you do a normal attack, you will have a certain effect on a character. So for example, that spinning boss in Fontaine, when it's in the Abyss, if you attack in this alignment stance right here, if you do a normal attack, it will automatically take down the cryo shield. So the normal attack will have certain effects against certain Fontainian enemies, but in terms of the talents, that's really all there is to it. There's nothing really important here. The skill is where a bulk of the damage is coming from, pretty much most of it right here. So, Saloon Solitaire. What you're going to do, as you see right here, I've summoned these 3 little homies here, and pretty much sidebar, I can walk on water. I'm literally a god, bro! You summon these little homies, and when you're by enemies, they actually go out and attack. So, if I can demonstrate real quick, they're just going to go and start attacking. So, I don't have to do anything. And the crazy thing about this is that it is similar to Xingqiu and Yelan, in which that you could swap off of your character, and they'll continue to attack, and you could swirl the Electro. Actually, you could swirl the Hydro. In this case, we swirled Pyro because, you know, Pyro enemy, but you get the point. And so it is doing damage, and I'm not doing anything. Now, the crazy thing about this talent is that before we get into the attributes here, before we get into the full talent info, you have 100% uptime. The duration is 30 seconds, but the cooldown is 20. So there is no downtime with this skill. It is consistently up, so it's consistent hydro damage over and over and over and over again. And the difference between Yelan and Xingqiu is that it's automatic. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to do normal attacks in order for you to get this going. I'm not doing anything. My hands are not on the keyboard, and they're just attacking. So that is the really nice part about that. But if we were to break this down a little bit further, as I said, you spawn these 3, they're going to give AoE hydro damage. They'll attack nearby opponents at intervals, prioritizing the target of the active character, dealing hydro damage. When they attack, if the character with more than 50% HP or near, the members will increase their current attack power based on the number of such characters and consume said character's HP. So, in caveman terms, what happens is, this is going to drain your character's HP if they are above 50%. If they're not above 50%, it's not going to drain the HP. So if you look at anyone else's HP on the side, it's not going to drain anything here. But when you are draining the HP of your team, you are actually buffing these little 3 minions. So every time you're draining, you're just getting more damage with Furina, which is very nice. And you're consistently going to drain if you have a healer, which we'll get to the healer portion of this in a moment. It's very important you run a healer with Furina. It's not 100% needed, but it's important. So, some sort of healing attributes. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4 or more characters will meet these requirements. The members' attacks will deal 110, 120, 30, 40% of the original damage, etc. Now, the other version of the skill, which I do not use very often, otherwise I'm in a pinch, is I can hold down the charge attack button, and now I'm getting single target healing. So it's not healing the whole team, it's only healing the specific character on field. And again, you hold down the attack button, it goes back, and it's seamless. Whichever one you need, you know, in a situation like this, if you want a quick swap heal, if you're in the Abyss, whatever the case may be, one of your characters are dying, let's say, you know, your healer is dead, you're like, okay, what am I going to do? That's an option. I'm going to be honest with you, again, unless you are going C6, you're never really in that state. You are mainly in the main state of attacking with these little crabs. That is going to be, again, a bulk of where the damage comes from. Now, the burst is one of the most overpowered things in the game. They have something called fanfare stacks. So if we look into this, pretty much it'll do AoE hydro damage based on Furina's max HP. She is HP scaling, and cause nearby party members to enter the universal revelry state. During the time when nearby party members' HP increase or decrease, 1 fanfare point will be granted to Furina for each percentage HP percentage point of their max HP by which their HP changes. So pretty much, whether you are gaining health or getting heals, as long as you are getting a percentage of your health being regened or taken away, you're getting fanfare stack, which is, we're going to get into a little bit more in a moment. At the same time, Furina will increase the damage dealt by and incoming healing bonus of all nearby party members based on the amount of fanfare she has. When the duration ends, Furina's fanfare points will be cleared. So the skill, it's going to last for 18 seconds. And the maximum fanfare you could have is 3. So, for example, using someone like Neuvillette here, so now I'm going to activate my burst. Activate burst, little minions on the floor. Now, I'm going to be getting fanfare stacks because of the fact that I'm draining health with Neuvillette. I'm now going to regen health with Neuvillette, and I'm going to start draining again. So I'm going to be getting max fanfare stacks pretty consistently with Neuvillette, Monsieur Neuvillette here. And it doesn't only have to be Neuvillette. We're going to show you other team comps and whatnot in a moment. But that's pretty much how it works. So that's why you really want to run a healer with her, because you are missing out on tons and tons and tons of DPS if you're not stacking the fanfare with her burst. So now her passes are pretty cool. This one's nothing too special. It's really the next one that's crazy. When the active character in your party receives healing, if the source of the healing is not Furina herself and the healing overflows, then Furina will heal the nearby party members for 2% of their max HP every 2 seconds for the next 4 seconds. It's cool. You know, it's nothing too crazy. Unheard Confession. This is the one that you're getting more damages for having high HP. Every 1,000 points of Furina's max HP can buff different Archie-aligned Saloon Solitaires, which are the little homies that come out over here. They're the ones that we showed you. And so, in the following ways, will increase Saloon members' damage dealt by 0.7% up to a maximum of 28%. Will decrease the Singer of Many Waters healing interval for nearby active characters by 0.4% up to a maximum of 16%. So pretty much you are just getting either more heals or more damage on your skill by just building HP on Furina. This is why she is so good. She's versatile. She has tons of off-field damage. She has no downtime. There is zero downtime to her skill, and her burst, all you have to do is just get some heals. So before we get into the team comps, let's look at the weapons. So this weapon will be her best in slot, Splendor of Tranquil Waters. It's going to give you basic attack damage, crit damage, 88.2, which is insane. Pretty much, it's just increasing her elemental skill, and it's literally suited to fit her perfectly. There are other options. Now, I unfortunately don't have the event weapon. Let me pull it up real quick on another website. So Festering Desire is very good for Furina. If I pull this up here, Festering Desire is going to increase elemental skill damage by 16% and elemental skill crit rate by 6%. So this is really good because A, you're getting extra crit rate, which is always nice. You want as much crit rate as possible, which we'll get to substats in a moment. But elemental skill damage, this is where most of her buffs are coming from. So that's very good. Bonus, it's giving you ER, which you need. Also the Fontaine Pipe, which I don't have. I'll pull that up right now. This is a very good free-to-play option, and you can get it R5. It requires fishing, but apparently Fontaine fishing is not as bad. If we scroll down a little bit, so it's giving you ER, an elemental skill crit rate by 8%, additionally increases elemental recharge by 16% for 5 seconds after using an elemental skill. So you're getting more ER just by using your elemental skill, and you're always using your elemental skill because that is where her damage is coming from, and your elemental skill is never going to run out. You have 100% uptime. So you see what I'm saying? Like why these are like perfect for her. There is another 5-star option, which I don't have. Key is still good. Now you could use Key. I don't have Key, but this is a very good weapon as well. This is good because it is giving HP for the main stat and HP increased by 20%. The elemental skill hitting opponents, giving you pretty much more EM is still solid and it still works. So this is a very good option as well. And then the last option, again, I don't have, so we got to refer back to this website, is going to be Wolfang, which is going to give you crit rate and damage dealt with elemental skill. Elemental burst is increased by 16%. When the skill hits an opponent, crit rate will be increased by 2%. Crit rate will be increased by 2% with the skill. Both these effects last 10 seconds separately and have max stacks of 4. It's pretty straightforward. Crit rate, elemental skill damage, elemental burst damage, HP. Get that. Find something that fits that. You could run Fav. Fav is definitely an option because of the fact you will be needing a decent amount of ER with her. So that's good. Sac is a complete waste. You don't need sacrificial. And those are pretty much like the main weapons for her that I would recommend running. Now, for artifacts, only want Golden Troop. Don't go for anything else. Don't bother. Golden Troop is perfect. Increase elemental skill damage by 20%. We've already established that. And then increase elemental skill damage by 25%. Additionally, when not on the field, elemental skill damage will further be increased by 25%. This effect will be cleared 2 seconds after taking the field. Elemental skill damage. Elemental skill damage. I mean, I don't know how many more times I have to say it. You get what I mean? Like, it's strictly elemental skill damage. That's what we're looking for. Substats are pretty straightforward. You want crit rate, crit damage. You do want ER, HP. For the main stats here, for the Sands, you could either go HP or ER. I personally go ER because since I run her with Monsieur near Valette, I'm trying to have an ER of like 160 to 180-ish. 170 is a good threshold. You know, again, your ER is going to vary based on who you're running her with. But that's why I personally run ER in that slot. And same thing here. Goblet, you can go HP or Hydro. Again, I'm running double Hydro, so I don't feel the need to run a Hydro damage bonus. I feel like the HP is more beneficial. And then crit rate, crit damage is here. Nothing too crazy. Pretty straightforward. You just have to have RNGesus really bless you with something good. And then mine right now is 73 over 217 with 172. Like, it's a pretty decently solid Furina build. 32k HP. Like, it's good. It's good. It works. It gets the job done. I haven't had a problem clearing since. Now, Constellations, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think she even needs them, but her Constellations are busted. Constellations are busted. Let's go over these. When using Let the People Rejoice, Furina will gain 150 fanfare. Additionally, Furina's fanfare limit will be increased by 100. This is just allowing you to get instant fanfare off rip along with another additional increase. So instead of it being 300, it is now going to be 400, and you're starting off with 150 immediately. So that's a massive buff to your damage. And then C2, when Let the People Rejoice lasts, Furina's fanfare gained from increases or decreases in nearby characters' HP is increased by 250%. Each point in fanfare above the limit will increase Furina's max HP by 0.35%. Her maximum HP is increased by 140. Those are the two. I would stop, man. Everything else after here, I would kind of just leave it alone. This is just upgrading Let the People Rejoice by 3. C4 is just allowing these to kind of give HP back to the characters and will restore energy. It's kind of whatever. This is leveling up the skill, which you don't really need. C6 does turn her into a main on-field DPS. But I personally think this is overkill. If you want to see what this looks like, I actually have a video up on the YouTube of me trying a C6 Furina. I think after C2, you could safely stop. If I had to give you an opinion, should you go for Constellation or the weapon? I'd say go for C1 or C2 and then get the pipe instead. The weapon is very nice. It is very, very nice, right? I don't go for Constellations on characters really that much to begin with. That's why I personally didn't do it. But if you're trying to min-max Furina, like, yeah, you might be losing out on 88 crit damage here, but you could easily make up for that in your artifact section. You are not going to make up for the lack of fanfare that you're going to be getting and the damage, you know, with that weapon. So that's what I would go. And that's Furina, bro. The other thing with Furina is she has tons and tons and tons of team comps. She can work with anyone. Now, circling back over to earlier when we were talking about the fanfare stacks, the reason why the healing is so important is, like, if I make a new team comp right here. So let's see. So we throw Furina on here, and she has a million team comps. Now, a lot of people like to run Furina with not single target healers, but healers that front load all the healing at one point. So what do I mean by that? Someone like Jean, who gives you instantaneous healing. Someone like Baiju, who is level 1. I'm doing him a little dirty. Someone like Shanyun. Because what happens is, when you do your burst with any of these characters and you get that massive front-loading healing, you are increasing your fanfare stacks substantially faster, but immediately. Because it's going by the percentage of the health you have regenerated. So with Jean, if you're regenerating, let's say, 40% of a character's health, or all of your team, so each character's health by 40% in one shot, you are going to get almost max fanfare very, very quickly, right? Same thing with Shanyun's burst. So when you run someone like Benny or Kuki, it's not that their bursts don't work, because these heals do help over time. but they're single target. They're only healing that one particular person on field, and they take time. As I said, Kuki has to do the spinning thing. Benny, you have to wait. So when you're trying to max out her fanfare off rip immediately, those healers are going to be the best people you want to run with. Now, if you're talking about just overall general team comps, she is one of the biggest flex characters in the game, right? The great thing about Furina is she has made so many characters that were extremely mid before work. And they really shouldn't be able to work, but they do. They work because of her. For example, if I were to look at someone like Cyno, for example, Cyno was ungodly horrible because of the amount of field time you needed with Cyno. His DPS output was not good enough for the amount of field time he was having. But let's say if you run Furina, Cyno, you throw Nahida in there, and you throw Baiju in here, now you got something different. Now you got a Hyperboom team going on. You have your Dendro application with Nahida. You have the instantaneous heals for the fanfare right there. You have Furina's constant skill going off. And you have Cyno's electric, his burst, which is like last 500 years. And you're getting a pretty good Hyperboom damage off of this. But again, her fanfare is going crazy. This was not a valid team before. There's so many people that work that shouldn't have worked before. So this is just one example of a team. Another example of a great team is New Valette with Kazuha, Furina, and Baiju. Or, again, you could replace this with Jean. I personally use Zhongli for the defense shred. I find it that like New Valette's, healing himself and degenerating is, it's enough. I could probably squeeze out a little bit more damage with maybe if I'm running the other two, but this is fine as well. But there's a million team comps. You can run her with Hu Tao. You can run her with even Arlecchino, despite what people want to tell you. This could be Yalan instead, as long as this is a vape team. A lot of people saying, oh, you shouldn't run it because, blah, blah, blah. No, it works. It works. This works perfectly. There are tons of options. So, I can sit here and list you off a million teams. Honestly, you can run like a new version of National instead of Zincho. You could throw Furina here. You could do anything. And that's the great thing about her. Flex. Massive, massive, massive flex. Works with anything. Sometimes what I even do, just because I'm really lazy and I don't have Yalan, it's not the most optimal thing in the world by any means, but sometimes this is my Hyperboom team, and I just say, all right, whatever. I'll rock with it. Also, Noelle. Noelle has become extremely, extremely viable now because of Furina. And this is going to segue into something else. With Furina, it allows characters to run Marachuusse. Marachuusse is easily one of the other best artifact sets in the game. So if we look at this here, it says normal or charge attack damage increased by 15%. And when current HP increases or decreases, crit rate will increase by 12% for 5 seconds, max 3 stacks. You're constantly going to have your health decreasing because of the fact that those little shitheads are always going to be on field. And hypothetically speaking, if you are running a healer as well, it is always going to be increasing as well. So realistically, you can run Marachuusse on so many people with Furina on Golden Troop, and it works. People have done Marachuusse Hu Tao. Obviously, New Valette runs Marachuusse. Grizzly runs Marachuusse. There's tons of characters that you could put this artifact set on, and it works because of Furina. So in my humble professional opinion, because I'm the greatest Genshin Impact player of all time, save your wishes. Roll on Furina. I do not think it's worth it to roll on Sigewinne. Now, if you're going to wail, Sigewinne could give Furina a little bit of an elemental skill buff, but I don't think it's that big of a buff. I haven't tested it yet, so I can't give you a solid answer. But if you want to go for someone, go for Furina. Furina will change it. As I've said, this changes everything. I love you. I'll see you in the next one.